Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the October 9th meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee at 6:45 p.m. Roll call: Grenier here, Yates,
Present.
Reed,
Here.
Martin here. Okay, all present. Discussion and possible recommendations of the village board on the payment of bills. Brenda?
A lot of them are just routine. We did get the Menominee Falls Fire Department fourth quarter bill. That was the big one in there. And they are supposed to be getting back to me this week with their numbers for next year, so we'll see. I had some landscaping bond returns. The big Midwest weeder one was Sarah had ordered some replacement ones and whatnot for their project with Hydroport. And everything else, the final payment for the generator for the village hall is on there. And then just engineer legal. So pretty routine.
Is that sewer and maintenance? Is that quarterly?
Yeah, and we're early from Menominee Falls, yes.
Okay. And then
From Sussex monthly.
okay. And then under Strand, well 3, where is well 3? I thought we had just 2 wells.
We have 3: Custer Lane, Whispering Ridge, and
No, that's
That's a lift station.
oh, I'm sorry.
Well, 3 is the
engineering
engineering that's being preliminary engineering that's being done for a proposed third well.
Okay. Okay. And then I recognize the land in the state well.
Yeah.
And then we've got in here cut and go a tree removal. I thought we already did that.
We did do that, we did that, this is the
This
invoice
is the
for it.
bill for it.
Oh, I thought we already had that though.
We had one for this tree removal, we had a different tree taken down at the park.
Oh,
And we have some other bids from them for the park.
For the meeting.
for-
Later today, yeah.
yeah, I saw that. What were the questions I had when I went through them? So I will entertain a motion to pay the bills as further presented.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented by the village clerk.
Second. Second. We have a motion and a second to pay the bills as presented by Brenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn in second. Obviously, no discussion. Motion to adjourn. Aye.
Too much. Something like that.
Everybody's queued. I know that I would like to call the Village of Villanon Village Board meeting to order for October 9th, 2023 at 7 p.m. We'll rise with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remove your headgear.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll take this time to remind everyone to please silence your phones if you haven't already done so. Roll call.
Roby. Here. Grenier. Here. Lake. Present. Martin. Here. Nellis.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
All present.
Full house tonight. Excellent. Statement of public notice.
That's been posted.
Item 5, discussion and possible action on the reading correction and approval of the minutes from the 9/11/23 village board meeting.
Motion to table those, I was absent at that meeting and they're not completed yet.
I'll make a motion to table the minutes from the 9/11/23 village hall meeting.
We have a motion and a second to table the minutes. Any further discussion? All those,
The only discussion I have is back in July, the June 12th minutes were tabled
Oh,
then, and we haven't seen them since.
okay. I will put them back on.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other catches? It's a good one, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries the table. Item 6, committee reports, finance and personnel.
We'll cover it at item 12.
Thank you. Legislative,
Nothing at this time.
park and recs and beautification.
The locust tree overhanging the power lines in the park was removed and the large stump in the playground was removed. There will be, finance, approval items for additional trees that need to be taken down later in the meeting. The Land and Business Association placed the fall decor at the Village Hall. We would like to thank them for the corn stalks and pumpkins. Those look great. Gloria, thank you so much for your, you are taking care of the beautiful front of our building. We would like to officially thank you and buy you dinner. So there you go. Thank you for all you do for us. I'll see you next year. Oh, yeah. Look beautiful. The historical sign is back. We have the brackets now, Patrick, so you and I will get together and I promise that historical marker will be back up before the tree lighting. Business of the month, there was a citizen comment that the business of the month hasn't been updated. I'm gonna suggest that we just change that to featured business, and I'll take the lead on writing reviews for featured businesses. So Brenda, if anyone wants to be involved, like any businesses want to meet an interview them, please do that. Well, thank you. Trick or treat will be moved to Saturday, in 2024. I've created an action item for August 2024 to put that back on the agenda. Christmas tree, Ron is gonna update us on what's going on with the Christmas tree. Mine is still available. And, that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Colleen. Public safety,
I don't think it's the same.
public works, recycling, sewer.
Ben will be bringing us up to date on a number of things in his report at the end of item number 13. Just so everyone is aware, the generator, the standby generator for the office is just outside that wall. The contractor, Scott Baldinger, called me when he was going out to get the approved generator, the 22,000 watt generator. And he said for an additional $56, he could get a 24 kW. So I approved that, so that's what's sitting out there now, is an upgrade to the 24 kW. Rick from Ideal Landscaping, he notified me last week that he's having trouble getting big trees, 20-foot trees. He has a need for 24 for all of his clients. And apparently, because of the drought and other things, they can't get them that size or that are decent looking. So he was going, I told him that, look for a 14 or a 15 or a 16 foot or something like that. He was supposed to get back to me today. Unfortunately, he did not. I don't know if he even tried because I was not answering my phone. So tomorrow I'll get a hold of him. The goal is to have a tree here November 30th, fully lit, installed, so that it can be lit in December. That's all I got.
Okay, Corey,
Nothing at this time.
thank you. Department reports, clerk's office.
We are working on getting utility bills out. We got them stuffed, finished putting postage on them. They will be out tomorrow. There is a budget workshop on Wednesday at 5:30, so we will be starting the budget process. And, learning some new tips and tricks from my new accounting software to make that a little easier, so that's all I got.
Just in the nick of time. Okay, police department, chief.
Aside from the monthly activity summary, no report.
Thank you. Item number 8, citizens' comments. This is meant for public comments on any subject without any discussion by board of trustee members or action except for possible referral to a governmental body or village agent. I will just add to that this is the opportunity for discussion or items to be brought up, not during future agenda items later in the meeting. I just wanted to make that clarification. So do we have any citizen comments? Yes, sir. Please just stand and state your name and address, please. Either one.
Yeah, sure. John Peterson, 205-85 West Good Hope Road.
Go ahead.
First time speaking at a meeting, so I don't know the etiquette or forum, but I was told that you guys are going to be conferring with legal counsel to hear advice about the selling or the potential selling of a vacant lot. My wife and I, Melanie, are the owners of the land for the driveway. And just a little history, just so the board is aware when you do make your decision tonight. We did have a conversation with Mr. Wood and the village president prior to your tenure. Just kind of expressing some concerns about the selling of that land. And we were told at that time that we would have continued conversations. We were a little caught off guard by the fact that we were just told that you guys are meeting tonight and making a decision in closed session about that vacant lots, and there has been no further conversation with us. I'm not aware of any city ordinances or any state statutes that say that you can have access to the land if you just provide water. And when we signed off on getting water, which we're grateful for, we were a little thrown and by the fact that that did not, at that time, I think the conversation was that would not lead to a back door for access to that land. We are very open to further conversations. I don't think that we're upset people. We've been in the village for 9 years and very much like it here, so I don't want to come off as disrespectful. We're just very surprised by the tactic and disappointed, and hope that we can have further conversations. We're worried about what could happen with the building of a house, not only disrupting our lives, but just some of the damage that could be done to the land, the driveway. And would love to have a continued conversation. Any possibility of delaying that vote is appreciated. Obviously, if you can't and you guys need to move forward, then I guess we'll have to take a different course of action. That by no means is that a threat. It's just, kind of an unfortunate situation. So we were hoping to have continued conversations. And definitely if my phone number is needed or contact information is needed, I'd be happy to supply it. So we appreciate you guys listening and making great time.
Yeah, I would definitely make sure that the clerk has your name and phone number and email.
Okay.
So we can.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Jay Jones. I live at 20577 West Good Hope Road. I'm a neighbor of the Petersons and am in that same private cul-de-sac. And just to give a little bit of color, I think Mr. Peterson has expressed it eloquently, but I have, I guess, a little bit more of a pointed tone. Mr. Wood and we met 4 years ago. Great conversation all the way through. And what's transpired over the last 2 or 3 weeks seems to have been, it feels quite a bit where the village attorney is kind of like sidestep things in terms of us reaching out saying, hey, we want to continue these conversations, where the first conversation that we've had has been today, when from my understanding, it was revealed that there was just an intentional trying to avoid a conversation. So I'm a little bit more irritated, I guess, when it comes to how the business of this conversation and what is going to happen to that lot between the 3 houses has occurred, in terms of just how it just doesn't feel right. It feels like there's been the way that the business has been conducted has, left a very sour taste in my mouth. And, much like Peterson's, I love Landon. I moved here in 2006 intentionally, specifically to Landon, and, it's been a very positive experience. I expect that to continue. We were having great conversations a couple years ago. I'd like that to continue. So, appreciate a closed door session. I understand why. Being on the school board for a few years, I don't want to impede the business of the village. But I would also think twice about how the things that have been conducted for what you are closing your session for has occurred. So that's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, I would also make sure that the clerk has your contact information as well.
Absolutely.
Any other citizen comments? Item 9, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution in support of Wisdot Transportation Alternative Program grant applications. So Ben, I think this one's us you.
Yeah, is there a draft resolution in your?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I believe that still has to be put into final form yet, but this resolution here is required in support of an application to the Wisconsin DOT. They have funding cycles come up for various things, and as discussed at a past, well, I'm not sure actually if this came up at a past meeting, but one of those is the Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP grant. What that is a program that will fund pedestrian facility studies / plans, and it will fund actual projects. So what we intend to submit on for the village is actually multiple applications. The reason for multiple applications is because the bipartisan infrastructure law funding pumped a lot of money into this TAP program, and it is a federal program that's administered through every state. That makes money available to apply for. It's the 80% funded project, and then the village, if successful, would have to come up with the other 20%. But first off, the need for a plan. I've talked on and off over the years that the village of Landon has a handful of points of interest. The elementary school, the bug line provides a lot of connectivity to the greater region. Jake's Park operates as not only a popular destination for the baseball teams, but as a bit of a trailhead for the bug line. And what a pedestrian facility plan would aim to do is to look for options to kind of fill in the gaps to make kind of pedestrian travel more contiguous throughout the village. For example, there's sidewalks on portions of Main Street, but not all of Main Street. There aren't any pedestrian accommodations on Landon Road around the elementary school. It's easy for folks to identify the bug line, of course, but getting from Jake's Park to the bug line is a little precarious, and just kind of with informal paths, etc. And then, the new developments have been, the village has done a good job of making those developers put in pedestrian accommodations, bike paths along the frontage of their property, or like with Overstone through their property. With Whispering Ridge Estates and Whispering Ridge Estates North, they have spurs to the bug line, and they have, even though they're private roads, public access easements, so that people can ride their bikes on the roads or whatever. So there's just not something that's clearly connecting all those, not funneling them down to just smoking or the businesses here on Main Street and Village Hall. So plan would identify logical opportunities to fill in that patchwork. Plan would also help scoring in future years for actual projects. We're going to go ahead and also submit on a few projects this year, some of which are identified in a TID project plan, and that would be
kind of connecting the bike path on Custer Lane to have it cross Main Street and then connect down into Overstone. Another connection point would be to get Overstone connected into Jake's Park. Another project we get, would replace the, in Jake's Park, the bridge, the pedestrian bridge over the little creek there. And what's a gravel footpath that spits you out to no formal crosswalk or anything, try to get that all up to, you know, the safety and design standards. And I think that would do a lot to kind of, like I said, fill in some of the gaps a little bit. So this particular program requires a board resolution, and that is for you, and it essentially says that, you know, should the village be awarded the grant funds, that you will agree to come up with the 20% cost share, should you choose to accept the grant funds. So it's a little bit crafty on the wording there, but, it is kind of a no obligation, application, but at the same point, they want to know that there's board support. And then just for context, we are putting together one other WISDOT application, and that's for the reconstruction of Good Hope Road. It's on a similar time frame, but it's not transportation alternatives. It's a just simply STP, State Transportation Program. Also, federal BIL monies kind of get routed through that, and it's an 80-20 cost share program. You might recall that we applied last year about this time. And out of 30 eligible projects in southeast Wisconsin, Good Hope Road scored third. They only awarded funds to the top project last year, but that program is reopened this year. So we're going to go ahead and reapply.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Does anybody have any questions about the resolution? I do notice there's one typo, that correction should be indicated in the motion. Probably. The second whereas, it says Village BORAD.
Oh, it's already easy.
I'll make a motion that we approve and proceed with the resolution 2023-2 for the Wisconsin DOT TAP project. Grant.
TAP grant application.
TAP grant application.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Looks like, or do we need to be number 4, number against? We'll do a roll call vote. What the heck? Andrew.
Great.
Yes.
Nellis.
Yes.
Palatola. Yeah. Yates.
Yes.
Lake. Yes. Grenier.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Pass the resolution, passes. Thank you, Ben. Staying up on all those opportunities for the village. Much appreciated. Item number 10, discussion and possible action on quote for tree removal at the park. So we got 2 here in front of us, and Colleen, do you want to run through these for us, or?
So we have, the whole thing was started with estimate 2621E. That was the dead tree at the entrance. We also asked about the live tree that was overhanging power lines, which was a different estimate. And when we approved the bills 2 months ago, we approved the one for the live tree that included the large stump that was ground out of the children's play area. So that work was done, and that's in the bills for this month that the finance committee approved. And everyone said, well, the dead tree is still there. It happened to be on a different estimate. I didn't realize that. So estimate 2621-E, that is for the dead tree that is at the entrance and the grinding of that stump. Then when I went out there, I realized there were 2 other stumps along the right of way or along the road I don't know if they're in the right of way or not, Ron. But I said to Matt at Cut and Go, I said, well, if you're coming to do that, let's get these stumps out of here, because those stumps are 18 inches high. You know, so that's that one. Now, whether we wanted to do that or not, I'm open to that idea. I think the dead tree should come down, because I'm afraid it's gonna hurt someone.
Are they within 10 feet of the,
10 feet of the edge of the road? I think they're further than that.
then they're not in the right of way?
Okay. So, it's kind of up to you guys if you want to do. It looks like,
So the second.
so the second one is not for 1,300, it's either 500 or
Either
800.
or.
Yeah, and I would suggest the 500 because we are using the chips to cover the landscaping that's down by the Lions building. So they can leave the stumps or the chips on site for us. So that would be for 500 would be my recommendation, and I definitely would request that we approve the 1850 to remove that ash that's at the entrance.
Are there more stumps that need to be ground in the future?
Yes,
So we hired Brian to go to the cemetery. On a day rate. And a half day, we had him twice. And our half day rate was 800. And he had over 100 stumps ground. So I think this was a little high, the same company.
yeah, you had mentioned that.
I would go with like a half day rate. Just get out there.
Well, the other
Grind
problem,
more than.
the other problem we have is we do have other stumps to grind, but we also have trees to take down to get to the stumps. So the problem that I have is when I walked around the park before this meeting, I found 2 more dead trees that were up by the smaller part, by the smaller fields, yeah. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, even if we approve this estimate, we are not finished, so. Maybe what we should do is, should we table this and try to?
Say,
get
maybe we table it
together?
and see if we can get it all together, and by that time, we're gonna have our budget, our first budget meeting by Wednesday. We can kind of see where we can allocate funds or how much allocation we could put towards that. And then if it ends up being where we get a day rate or a half day rate, do it that way, and then kind of get more bang for the buck possibly.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too, because after tonight, when I saw 2 more ash
Mhm.
trees that.
And there might be more that you look around, you might find another one or whatever, so.
Along the same line, as I meeting with Joe from Village
Elizabeth,
and to discuss possible interactions and getting them to do some of the things for us. I can check and see if he's got a grinder. If he's got a stone grinder, that'll eliminate a whole lot of problems. He's busy the early part of this week, but we're gonna get together and discuss some certain things, shared the job and shared equipment, shared personnel.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
I
great.
should know more.
All right, well, I'm gonna call,
Make sure you loop me into that.
What's that?
Make sure you loop me into that,
I will
please.
do that.
so I'm gonna call Matt and I will try to meet with him at the park and talk about all the specific trees that should be taken out and then try to buy him down. And then I'll have him break out the grinding from the tree removal, because Lisbon wouldn't remove the trees, correct?
No, it just,
Okay, so let me do that. I'll have them break it out, and then if there's an option to have some grinding done with our personnel or their equipment, then we can.
Yep.
All right, so let's, I'd like to make a motion to table item number 10 until we're able to clarify the scope and get a new bid that encompasses all of the remaining dead trees in the park.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the table?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discussion of possible action regarding letter of credit reduction for Rock Point Village Phase 1 and Phase 2. This you, Ben?
I'll take this one, yeah. So Rock Point Village's, the apartment's letter of credit for phase 1. Expires on October 18th. Letter of credit for phase 2 expires on October 14th. So they've asked for a reduction. I went out Friday and I reviewed items in the development and I noted the following. Phase 1 letter of credit still or some outstanding items in phase one that remain is, even though they've cut in the landscape island, they haven't actually put the plantings in. The sign that was, before the plan commission last, has not been put in. That's scheduled for, November 6th to get put in. And then phase two still needs the fencing and whatever goes along with the dog park. And I went back and double checked the original landscape plan compared to what's out there, and they still need to add some more landscaping along the border with Jeannie Crosby's property to the south. So I discussed these items with the letter of credit this morning, and I feel that the phase one letter of credit could be reduced to an amount of approximately $10,000 to $15,000. And the phase two letter of credit, approximately $25,000. They shared with me the quote for the dog park and everything that goes along with the for the fence that goes along with the dog park, and that was just over $20,000. So I think 25 would be appropriate there. Now, they want their form of security to be a check for each of these that they would just come and drop off at Village Hall. They feel that they'll make a lot of progress on these in the next couple months. And for them, it's not, it's a small enough amount that a letter of credit becomes really expensive, so they would just rather come drop off a check. So if that's an okay approach with council, my suggestion would be to reduce the letter of credit for phase one to 10,000 and phase two to 25,000. And that the existing letters of credit, I don't know if this is formal or not, Trace, feel free to step in, but the intent here is that the letters of credit would be released after they drop off the checks, however that should be worded. Good. You know.
And then we still have a substantial letter of credit presumably for phase three.
There's 73,700 for phase three that expires in May. I expect they will be coming back in a couple months to ask for a reduction on that one. Oh no, they did last week finish the final course of asphalt, etc.
I'll make a motion that we accept the reduction for the letter of credit, 10,000 for phase one and to 25,000 for phase two. And in actuality, it will release the letter of credit once the check has been written and delivered to Village Hall.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? That language will be used, council.
Yeah, I would just recommend it be a cashier's check, rather than the service, yes, certified check.
As long as it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you just make sure that clarification's in there, Brenda? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussing in item 12, discussion and then possible action on payment of the bills.
I'd like to make a motion that we pay the bills as presented from Brenda earlier this evening.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, engineers report.
So as Ron alluded to, and as was discussed at the Public Works Committee meeting earlier this evening, I just wanted to provide kind of a broad update on several projects. Kind of the it's complex because there's several projects and there's also several different funding mechanisms available to the village to pay for various projects. And for those who are around at the May Village Board meeting, we talked about that a little bit with the plan on how to spend the remaining $900,000 worth of USDA grant funds that are part of that loan and grant package. The thought process at that time was to prioritize some essential upgrades and repairs to the well facility, including a new backup generator, kind of a full tear out and replacement of all the electrical gear in the station, buying a generator for Land Estates, implementing a SCADA system for the water utility and the sewer utility. And that's essentially the remote monitoring and control capabilities. And that any remainder be spent on installing additional water main. So we have been stalled out a little bit because USDA had previously, all the way back then, given us direction that, hey, Landon, you only get like one shot at spending the contingency money. We're not going to ask for one request, see how much is left, ask for another request, see how much is left, and just kind of keep going back to that well. They have other projects that have since been bid or awarded since January of this year that are under budget. So anything that we kind of don't use in a reasonable time frame, they would gladly take it back and reallocate to some other projects. So what's come to light since then in trying to get these projects out is that each of the existing contracts have a cap as to what the dollar value that can be change ordered and added into an existing contract is. By state law, that threshold is 15% of the original value. Why is that important? Well, along with the bipartisan infrastructure law also came Buy America, Build America, which requires that everything down to electrical components either be manufactured and sourced in America or go through a waiver process where the government has to sign off on like, yes, this is an acceptable reason to not have it be American made. So that interjected another dynamic of trying to do some of these electrical related projects and SCADA projects. If you have to rebid them, USDA has since moved toward requiring BABA compliant products on all newly bid projects. So we're trying to figure out how to just quite frankly work the system and how to get these projects done by change ordering them into existing contracts. And it's just getting to a point where the lead times are such that it could jeopardize some things. So initiated a conversation again with a follow-up conversation with USDA last week. They asked I follow up this week. I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow. I didn't do that today, but to get some clarification on if basically it's overcomplicating the usage of the USDA funds to mix water main and electrical and controls all under one funding mechanism, that there are certainly enough water main projects out there to just go ahead and spend that all on water main. All the projects have to get done at some point anyways. And then the village would then have to pivot and do SCADA, presumably primarily out of the sewer fund since it's joint sewer water projects. And the electrical facility upgrades that are needed might need to just happen as part of a capital project for the water utility. So I had a conversation with the village's municipal finance advisor, John Cameron at Ellers a couple weeks ago. And he's aware of the situation. It all kind of hinges on this conversation with USDA tomorrow. But I just wanted to provide the village an update in that regard. And another piece of hopefully reassurance that I'll throw out there is just like when the village had to authorize repairs to the generator earlier this year. We kind of knew at that time whatever repairs were going to be authorized needed to be robust enough to get the generators through the next 18 months until we get a permanent replacement. And then Sarah Nunn was here for the Public Works Committee meeting, and we discussed, for those of you who are here, kind of a similar strategy at the well house that, you know, whatever essential repairs are needed to get that facility robust enough that it's running reliably for the next 12 to 24 months, the village will have to go ahead and do that until we get a permanent solution in place. Ron, did you have anything else you wanted me to touch on, any of the?
The only thing that I'd like you to talk about would be the lift station
Sure.
upgrades that we did bid on them. We were going to and then put them off.
Correct. So at the time that we did the design for the new lift station, the Custer Lane lift station down by Rock Point Village. We probably got to a 50% design standpoint on doing upgrades to the village's two existing lift stations, one at Main Street by the entrance to Overstone and one at Good Hope Road next to Ron's house on your way out of town to the east. Those stations, we're planning on doing an upgrade right away. It was capacity driven, meaning that it was projected that because of all this new growth that, you know, capacity would need to be increased at each of these stations to take all this flow and get it to the Sussex wastewater plant. A couple of years ago, we took a look at the updated kind of flow projections and didn't feel that the projects were as urgent, and we wanted to wait to see that actual flow data kind of justified, okay, we're getting close, let's go ahead with these projects. Well, in the meantime, this summer, was it, Ron, there was an electrical failure at the Good Hope Road station, where due to the corrosive gases that can accumulate within a they call it the wet well. It's essentially the extra deep manhole that kind of stores all the flow in between pump cycles. Those gases have caused some deterioration of the wire sheathing,
Right.
and there were some shortages.
But as I mentioned in a previous meeting, the contacts, the motor contactors, and I have put in a desiccant as well as a fan as a temporary fix. But we haven't done anything, and Ben and I discussed earlier about getting a hold of Sussex and seeing what that situation looks like at the lift station at Overstone.
So pending the kind of state of the sewer utility funds, that might be a project that can just be green lighted, if that's a term, to move forward, as funding might not be complicated at all on those. And I'll just provide a little anecdote. I've been asked a handful of times through my tenure as village engineer, you know, why is there so much money in the sewer fund? You know, we're overcharging for rates, et cetera, et cetera. My generic response to that is that a young utility, which land and sewer utility from 1997 is very young. You know, it's built with PVC pipes, boots on the manholes, just kind of, you don't have any manholes that were built out of brick and mortar, literally like there are in several old communities, et cetera. You know, that utility should last for a good amount of time without needing substantial rehabilitation or repairs. And during that initial chunk, which it's been 25 years now, you should be accumulating reserve funds so that when you get to needing to do some major upgrades like this, you know, your rates were set appropriately, that you can just go ahead and pay for those without the need to do a rate increase or something like that. So I would like to kind of think that, you know, if the state of the sewer fund is what I think it is, that it's actually kind of a nice success story there, that the village will be able to go through this next set of lift station upgrades that should last another 20+ years without having to do anything with the rates. I think that's a good situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Attorney's report.
Nothing to report at this time.
Nothing to report at this time. Okay, I have a few items here. Couple of these already got touched on in earlier discussion points. Again, I would just encourage other board members to not only attend the budget meeting on Wednesday evening, but come prepared with any requests or ideas. Be prepared to be an active participant in those discussions, and if you need information from Brenda to prepare for that, or copy of last year's budget, or you have like your preliminary spreadsheet already from Wendy for this year's? No? We're gonna cut that right down to the wire,
We're operating in two different systems right now, so.
huh? All right, well, this will be the first one of at least two, so we'll have another opportunity to take another swing. In regards to the land sale, so thank you for staying so I can respond to this here. I will touch on that just a little bit. In the position of the village, we are certainly not trying to take an adversarial posture here at all. We simply have an asset that we have sitting here. It's not doing anything for the village in its current state. The village is looking to explore the possibility of selling that asset and using those funds where they can be more useful for the village. So in doing so, we're taking the proper steps to do our due diligence about our legal standing in terms of whether or not there might be any complications with selling this property or not. I think that's what you would expect us to do. So I hope you understand that that's what we're doing. You know, it's my understanding that Trustee Lake went around and did initiate some conversations with residents up in that neighborhood, just to give everyone a heads up. Hey, so you know, this is, you know, we know this has been discussed before, but we're talking about this again, just so you know. So I think we've tried to be, you know, responsible in how we're moving forward in this process, and I don't know that we may or may not reach a final decision here this evening in closed session, but I wanted you to at least understand our thought process and how we got to where we're at. Yeah. All right. With that concludes my portion of the report. Item 16, upon the duly made motion to proceed into a closed session, the board pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, section 19.85, sub 1, sub E and G, for the purpose of purposes of deliberating and negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and 2, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to the selling of a vacant lot. Do I have a motion to enter closed session?
I'll make a motion to go in closed session.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second. Roll call vote?
Brady,
Yes.
Nellis,
Yes.
Valentine, Romy,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Lake,
Yes.
Grenier,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Unanimous. Now enter into closed session. Two nights from now.
2 nights from tomorrow.
2 nights from now. 5:30.
Oh, you have to do something with this?
Oh.
Be very close, but you're in.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Just throw my back at them over.
Here, you want to sit back down? I just, all right, thank you.